What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to part 1 of another Football Manager Simulates for you guys. In this series and in this mini kind of batch of episodes, I guess, we're going to be taking a look at what if Dortmund were to be relegated from the Bundesliga. How would it pan out in the eyes of Football Manager? Now, I should point out a few things before we begin, and the first one is I don't think Dortmund are going to get relegated this year. But at the halfway stage of this year, they were in the bottom 2, and it would have been a quite interesting scenario, and could still be an interesting scenario if they were to be relegated, because it would be, I guess, a rather strange set of circumstances. So anyway, I thought we'd do this in Football Manager. So as you can see, we have Dortmund here. They're not in the Champions League. They are in the German second division. You can see they are still rich and with continental rep. I think the rep is mainly held up because of the players in their squad. If we take a look at the second division, I only relegated Dortmund, and the only team I promoted was this team, whose name I'm not going to try and say, but at the halfway stage of the Bundesliga 2 season, they were top of the league, so it made sense to promote them and swap them with Dortmund. The other change I obviously made, because Dortmund are in the Champions League this year, is that with them being relegated, I gave the 4 German Champions League spots to the top 4 teams in the German Bundesliga as of the Christmas period. So Augsburg, Bayern, Leverkusen and Wolfsburg are the 4 teams with the kind of German Champions League spots for this year. So, as you can see here, we have Dortmund. Klopp's still in charge. They still have their complete squad. I haven't updated Royce's contract just because I'm not updating and not playing on any kind of January update. This is just the start of the game. Maybe we'll do another one after the January update and see if it changes anything, the fact that some of the players are tied down to longer contracts. But as you can see here, lots of players, they're all abysmal morale. Obviously, being relegated is going to have hit them hard. In terms of the club, I've tweaked their finances slightly just to cut their budget as if they were no longer getting Champions League TV money, but I've not touched anything like the amount of fans coming to games, etc. So anyway, I'm going to, this episode, do the first season with Dortmund. In future episodes, we'll probably do a few seasons at a time, but I feel like seeing the sales and stuff this year is going to be of quite significance. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to just into September. Transfer window will have closed, and we'll take a look at what remains of the Dortmund side. And as you can see, I've got them all on a short list, so we should quite easily be able to keep track of them. So I'll join you guys in just a second. Okay guys, so we are back, and immediately what's jumping out at me is the fact that Shinji Kagawa is the key player and there's no Hummels to be seen under the captaincy bit and no Royce. So we'll have to see what happens then, but as you can see, it's the 2nd of September. Just a quick look at the league. Dortmund have, they've won their first 4 games in a row without conceding, so that's quite impressive. Let's take a look at their transfers, because that's the real interesting thing. So, on the history, wow, okay, they've signed no one. That surprises me. Looking at it here, the total value of the players they sold is £70 million, which is a bit of a fire sale. Obviously, the only real comparable situation to if kind of Dortmund were to be relegated that I can think of would probably be back when a few of the clubs in Serie A got relegated. But even that's not really that comparable to what this situation could entail and could result in. So let's have a look at the outs anyway. So the first guy here is Mark Hornschach. I can't speak German, so I've tried. Scherer. I don't know, Hornscherer. I tried. 23 years old, not a key first team player, not of massive interest. But the next few, wow. Okay, so Subotic, Serbian international, has gone out to Man City for £7.25 million. They sold him on fairly cheap. Didn't play that much football for Dortmund last year in real life, but you can see here, obviously been paid pretty good money by Man City to go and join them. The next player, Hummels, leaving for £17 million. Now I should point out that a few of these players are probably leaving on slightly smaller amounts, because in the editor when I relegated Dortmund I made a few other changes to not necessarily encourage moves, but to better reflect the effects of a club being relegated. So interesting to see Hummels leave. Obviously the fact that the club morale and player morale was so low in the camp's pretty bad. But as you can see, he's left the Barca for £17.25 million. Royce has left to Man City too, so 2 players going to Man City. Royce of course does have his release clause in game of 21 million, so it looks like City reached that. Other players, Gundogan going to United. A load of players going to Premier League clubs here. Well, I say that because there's a few, but actually they've kind of gone everywhere. Hummels to Barcelona, and if we look down here, we've got Pasta Palopoulos. I can't speak Greek, I'm sorry. So we'll just call him Socrates. That's a lot easier, isn't it? The centre-back, the Greek centre-half, looking at him, he's gone for 6.25 million. Interesting to note that he must have been a late departure because he played 4 league games this year. So he must have left right on deadline day. I feel like the dates are here. They are. Okay, wow. So they sold 4 players on deadline day. The next player they sold of real significance was Piszczek, the Polish right-back, and they let him go to PSG for 6.5 million, which is a tiny fee, but again, I guess that reflects them trying to get rid of the players who were unhappy. So looking at it, they got about £70 million in total, Dortmund, for the players that they got rid of. A few names there that I don't recognise that aren't key first team players, but I'm surprised at how many of the big players they let go. You know, really 6 big first team players leaving the side there. Looking at the squad they have left, they've got Weidenfeller in goal, Ginter, Eric Durm in defence, Bajkowski, Sahin, Bender, I give up. Kevin, the Armenian guy who, again, names I can't say. If you're new to my channel and this is the first video you're watching, you'll know that, or you won't know rather, that I can't say names. So we're just going to call him Kevin for the sakes of this. But looking at it, they've still got some pretty good players. It's going to be interesting to see how they adapt this year and if they get promoted, if they reinvest any of that money, because obviously they've got some decent cash there, although that might be needed to offset the cash flow, I guess, for being in a lower division. But anyway, I think what we're going to do is we're going to go to the end of the season. We'll see if any transfers were made during January, take a look at the end of the first season stats, and then I'm going to wrap things up for this, the first episode. And then from there, in the next few coming episodes, we'll have a look at the longer term impact, I guess, of being relegated and see if Dortmund can get back to being kind of second dog, I guess, in Germany. So I'll join you guys in just a second and we'll take a look at their end of season stats in the Bundesliga 2. Okay guys, so we are back and it's the end of the season, 7th of June, and looking at it, Klopp is still in charge, so that's interesting. So he can't have done that bad of a job. Looking at it, Sahin has become their key player. Does that mean that they sold Kagawa? Doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like they sold anyone in January of any real significance to their first team. Released a few players, but they didn't sell and they didn't buy anyone. So I guess they made do with what they had. As you can see here, actually, at the top, they did win the German second division. Let's take a look at the league table. So they actually were champions with Dusseldorf and Red Bull Leipzig, or Rasenball Leipzig. Is it Rasenball Sport? Either way, it's disgraceful what they've done in German football. I'm sorry if you're a Rasenball Sport fan, which you're not because they don't exist. But yeah, not a fan of them. But anyway, Dortmund did win the league convincingly. Let's stop ranting about the politics of German football. But as you can see, Dortmund won the league quite convincingly. Looking at it, they didn't actually have one of the top goal scorers, which is a little bit surprising. Weidenfeller did keep the most clean sheets. It looks like defensively they were very good. Sahin getting 16 assists from centre mid is pretty impressive. You can see he's played a decent amount of games for them and got an average rating of 7.42. So I guess the good news is for Dortmund that they got promoted immediately, which is a good sign. Looking at it, their reputation's dropped to national. I guess that's an effect of them selling some of their bigger first team players earlier in the year. I didn't notice it before. Let's have a look at their fixtures and see how they got on in other competitions. So they did okay in the German Cup. They got knocked out by Borussia Mönchengladbach 4-2. Looking at it, they did pretty well in the league, but then that's kind of to be expected. Let's take a look at the first tier in the Bundesliga and see who did what. I'd be amazed if Bayern didn't win it. And looking at it, Bayern did win it, but Borussia Mönchengladbach almost kind of pulled them back. As you can see, they're only 1 point behind, and Leverkusen doing well as well. So that's interesting. I'm kind of surprised that Dortmund didn't sell any players to Bayern, or rather that Bayern didn't come in for any of the Dortmund players that were for sale. I don't even mean that in kind of a jovial kind of Bayern still ordered Dortmund's players. I'm just genuinely quite interested in the fact that so many players went to Premier League teams. But anyway, that's going to wrap things up for this episode 1. As I said, this is more of a little introduction. I don't know how many parts we'll do to this series. I guess we'll keep going as far into the future as remains interesting. If you did enjoy this video and you want to see the next part, make sure that you show that you want to see the next part by smashing the like button. It lets me know that you did enjoy the video. If you've got any questions about how I set this up, or just in general anything to do with the editor, feel free to leave it down below. I'll try and get back to as many people as I can. Obviously, if you know a bit about the editor, maybe you can help people down there too. But yeah, as I mentioned, if you'd like the video, smash the like button. If this is the first video of mine you're watching, subscribe for more Football Manager experiments. We have legends that we can recreate in Football Manager, more stuff like this. And if you're into your FM saves and you want to follow a little bit of a story, we've got one of those going on at the moment on my channel with Lewis FC. So yeah, that wraps things up from me. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And other than that, it is me, Jack, and I'll talk to you guys next time. I'm out.